RWBY Volume 6 is right around the corner, so to bring this occasion in, I decided to binge watch all 5 volumes of the series, so I can bring you this, my top 10 favorite RWBY episodes. Let's get started! Number 10, Ruby Rose. This episode sets everything up for the series. We get history with the world of Remnant and the people who inhabit it. We get a kick-ass fight scene between Ruby, Roman, and his goons. We get introduced to Yang, Glinda, Cinder, and John along the way. Oh, and let's not forget Ozpin. Ozpin is perfect in this as well. But overall, I just loved how this was able to act as a pilot. It sets everything up perfectly, it doesn't reveal too much, yet it doesn't reveal too little, and it just overall sets us up for more, and I really love this episode for doing that. Number 9, Best Day Ever. The Season 2 premiere brings us back to the world of Remnant and to the life of our heroes in a big way. A kick-ass food fight. This was a good, fun, action-packed episode, and it got us all ready for the storm that was coming later on this season. We got introduced to 2 new villains working for Cinder and Roman, Mercury and Emerald, and we knew something was going down with them when we saw them working together, but we didn't know what it was until later on during the season when we saw Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury all at Beacon Academy posing as students. So this was a good comp for the Storm episode, I would like to say. Overall, the animation was amazing during the food fight, and I just loved it. There's nothing more I can say about this episode other than it's a perfect start to the new season. Number 8, Players and Pieces. We follow what will eventually be Team RWBY and Team Juniper as they make their way through a forest to find relics to bring back to their school as part of an exercise. Now, the overall highlights for this episode is not just the fight scenes, but it's also the interactions between characters. We get to see before they officially become teens how they work off each other, both comedically, seriously, and eventually later on during the episode in fighting. I just loved this episode and what it was able to do for all these characters and show me how they acted towards each other, and it got me excited to see what more we can get from these interactions in the future. It's a good episode, it got us good fight scenes, but overall, it got us good character development for each of the characters that will eventually become Team RWBY and Team Juniper. Number 7, The Next Step. Now, after the events of Season 3, we get a time jump to our new team of Ruby, John, Nora, and Ren. Or better yet, Team Ranger. Yeah, I like the name. Anyway, this episode, while it doesn't show the exact events of the finale when it starts, it shows the characters growing and maturing to this new world they're living in, because it's not the same world they once thought of anymore. Everything has a different feel, because everything is mature now, and that's the path RWBY wanted to take for Season 4. Now, I applaud them for doing that, because grounding this more into reality provides greater stakes and greater risk for our characters. But how's the episode in general? It's still good. If you take away the part where they're trying to be super mature and everything, it's still the same RWBY. There's moments where they're being funny, moments where they're being serious, moments where there's character development, moments where there's kick-ass action involved. Everything is still RWBY, it's just in this new plane now, and I have to applaud them for that. We also get introduced to new characters like Salem, who got me goosebumps the first time I saw it on the screen, and we got introduced to Oscar as well, who, whether you like him or not, plays an important role now in the show. But yeah, overall, it's still RWBY, it's just in this new plane of maturity that I have to applaud for the show. So, good job, RWBY, for doing that. Number 6, Round 1. 2 words. Tournament Arc. This episode starts off a whole tournament arc that goes through the entire season and ends with the stuff happening. But before we get to all of that, this episode was able to bring so much joy to my face. It was full of kick-ass action, full of kick-ass music, full of kick-ass characters, full of kick-ass comedy. The whole thing was kick-ass. And if I'm being honest, that scene with Blake and the fish still makes me laugh. I don't care how many times I've seen it, it will always make me laugh. So yeah, this episode was pretty awesome. And the tribute to Monty in this episode, if we're being serious for a moment, was touching. And yeah, it kind of made me tear up a little bit, if I'm being honest. So yeah, this episode was just boatloads of fun, and I was able to bring us joy before the eventual stuff happening later this season. Number 5, Dance Dance Infiltration. 2 more words. Prom episode. Now, this episode was fun and everything. We got a badass fight scene between Ruby and Cinder. But the ultimate draw for me would have to be the prom part of this episode. And you can say whatever you want in the comments below. I just enjoyed that part more than the story part of the episode. The best part would have to be the group Juniper dance that happened in this episode. I don't care who you are, that was fun. And you know that was fun. And because of my cliche of liking those angsty teen dramas still. Not gonna name which ones, but you can make your own assumptions what it could be. But yeah, either way, this was a fun episode to watch. I enjoyed the prom part more than the story part. No regrets. But either way, it's still a good episode no matter how you look at it. And that's why it's on this list, because it's a good episode. Number 4, Kuro Yuri. Now, after the events of the previous episode, Team Ranger is trying to find help for Crow after he gets injured in their last fight. So, they split up to cover more ground. In a series of flashbacks, we find out more about Ren and Nora's backstory. We see Ren as this young shy boy who doesn't get into fights, and we see Nora as this young homeless orphan who gets bullied. So already you feel bad for them. But don't worry, you'll feel even worse for them when you see Ren's family get killed, Nora getting scared for her life, and the town they live in ending up in ruins. But through all this darkness there's hope as Ren unlocks his semblance, stands up for himself, and protects Nora. I loved every bit of this sequence and was on the edge of my seat this whole time. And I already know they lived, but at the same time, you're worried for them, wondering, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And I loved having to feel that, because you know there's this emotional connection between you and this animated character, because you forget that they're an animated character, and that for a moment you think they're real. So that's why you're rooting for them to win in the end. I just loved every bit of this episode, and I just gotta give props to the crew for coming up with this. It was an emotional episode from start to finish, and it was just a taste for what was going to happen in the finale. Number 3, Rust and Resolutions. Now, after the events of Volume 3, Team RWBY was separated, and for the entirety of Volume 4 and parts of Volume 5, we've seen the team separated but slowly making their way to reunite again. For this episode, we got the reunion of RWBY, Weiss, and Yang with help of Raven. This episode is like to call a breather episode. After constant action over and over again, it was a relief just to see the team take time to breathe, catch up, and have fun. My favorite part of that episode would have to be the arm wrestling match between Yang and Nora. And the part where Yang actually takes off her robot arm to win, and Nora screaming in the process, that was the highlight for this episode. But yeah, in the end, this episode acted flawlessly in trying to be a breather episode. It didn't give us that much action, it didn't give us that much filler. It's just a simple episode of people catching up, having fun, and just getting to know each other again after a serious time. And it was actually what we need, because the following episodes will get far more serious, and will be that way up until the finale of Season 5. Number 2, Breach. Now this episode is just one big action sequence from start to finish. We get action from Team RWBY, Team Juniper, and from every other character in this series from that point. And I just love the fight choreography in there. It's pleasing to the eye, it's post-pounding, it keeps you on the edge of your seat from start to finish, and I just love that. So if they're going to make a highlight reel of fight scenes, I feel they're going to put this episode as the majority of the clips, because this episode was just amazing from start to finish. Also, the introductions to Adam and to Raven were amazing, and there were key points that we were excited to get as teasers for what's going to happen next season. So overall, I just enjoyed this episode from start to finish, and it was good at getting us ready for what's going to happen next season. Number 1, End of the Beginning. I consider this episode to be the turning point for Team RWBY, Team Juniper, and for the series as a whole. Over the course of Season 3, we had a tournament arc, but in the background of all of this, there was a deeper plot happening with Cinder, Mercury, and Emerald, and other villains. The final episode saw their plans in action, as Death and Despair rained down the Academy. We all knew these episodes were a game changer, and that this will make us an emotional wreck. But the final episode of the volume gave us a final blow and a cherry on top for an emotionally fucked up series of events. The episode itself was pretty good, but what makes this number one is that this was the start of a new adventure for our heroes. We see them suffer a great loss. Their home, their friends, and everything else is all gone. We felt their pain, we felt their suffering, we felt despair, anger, hopelessness, and everything else in this episode. Just seeing the reactions to this episode online and seeing everyone break down in despair just shows you how much this series has a grasp on people. And with this episode, they felt the characters' pain. And that's something amazing for a series, because if you can have an emotional grasp with people, you have an amazing product. But what this also does is, it shows our heroes that the world isn't this peaceful place. It's a dark place with bad people. And this was enough for our heroes to actually grow and to realize this and to actually go on their own adventure to try to stop the bad people. I just love what the episode was able to bring from start to finish. And I just loved how this episode was able to begin a new adventure for everyone involved, both in the series and for people who are watching it. This was the turning point for the series, and I enjoyed it so much. So those are my top 10 favorite RWBY episodes. What did you think? Did you like this? Did you not like this? Tell me in the comments down below, and also tell me what episode you think should have been on this list. I might make a part 2 eventually when I'm not busy with school. Speaking of school, I'll be taking another small break from this channel to focus on that. But I'll be back by Thanksgiving break with a new video. So, there's at least that. If you want to stay in touch with this channel, click the subscribe button. If you want to stay notified on new videos, click the bell icon. My Twitter is Productions EOF. Follow it for updates. And I might do a few reviews of RWBY Volume 6 on there as well. So another reason to stay in touch. So yeah, that's all I have to say. See you next time.